Hello, world. Welcome to another week of Golf Subpar. And what a week it was for our guy, Jon Rahm, at the 121st U.S. Open. Tip of the cap to you. You picked the winner.
Respect.
For the record, I didn't disagree with you at all by this.
Respect.
I loved Jon Rahm going into the week. He put on an absolute clinic yesterday. I mean, those two putts he made on 17 and 18. Unbelievable. I mean, I was like, I had goosebumps when those things were going in. I was going nuts on the couch.
It was wild. I mean, we start off the day, you got 12 guys, I guess, at the top with a realistic chance to win it within 4 shots. And through the front 9, it was all in play still. Going in the back, there was a ton of guys still left out there. And then you fast forward a few holes on the back 9, and they just started dropping like fly. I mean, everyone was imploding. You had some of the, you mentioned John's putts. Those are some of the best shots you'll ever see hit in a major championship. You saw some of the worst shots you'll ever see hit in a major championship. You got a half-naked streaker dressed like a woman in a pride outfit, just decides to practice a short game there on the 13th fairway. There's a lot of shit going on at that golf tournament. It just went from, wow, there's a lot of guys that could win, to all of a sudden like, okay, it's either Rahm or Louis right now.
Yeah, it was so I honestly, when all the carnage was happening, when Harris English posted 300, I was like, he could sneaky get in a playoff right here.
Possibly.
Yeah.
You need the stars to align, but it was there. It was at 300, and the way guys were going. I mean, then it just became Rahm and Louis, and I mean, it was just I don't ever remember seeing so many top name guys just all fall down at the same time. Like it was just, I mean,
and it's a testament.
There's a lot of them.
The moment is obviously huge. The golf course is extremely hard, which I never realized how many people hate on Torrey Pines, and I don't get it because it's always a huge name wins around there, it seems like. It's always an exciting finish, whether it's the Farmers or the U.S. Open. Like, I always thought it's a great golf course.
I saw a lot of that on Twitter, too, like bagging on Torrey Pines. I was like, what do you – like the main knock I saw was there's no strategy involved. It's just guys hitting driver after driver after driver. I was like, okay, well, they're going to do that anyways. Like, what do you want to do? Put a lake out there at 290 and force everyone – If you have something in the way or a dog leg or something like that and everyone's forced to play from the same position, then people complain because like, oh, this doesn't leave any options for anyone. They all have to play from the same spot. But then you got Torrey where you can hit. I mean, guys were playing from all over the place. So and I was like, what exactly kind of golf course can you design? You're not going to get driver out of these guys' hands more or less unless it's impossible.
I thought you wanted to see the guys send driver everywhere because that's what's exciting to watch. And at Torrey Pines, if you actually hit fairways, you get rewarded.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw them. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau had an absolute disaster on the back 9, but one of the shots that sticks out to me is when he blew it way right on 12 into that crazy thick lie and was able to muscle it up on the green. I'm like, Jesus, this guy is just a freak of nature. Like, I don't know if there's 5 guys on the PGA Tour that could have got that ball out of the rough. I thought it was a beautiful setup. I mean, 6 under par winning with hardly no wind for the entire week.
Like
awesome.
7-8 miles an hour, maybe.
You had the marine layer, which made the greens maybe a little softer than they would have liked. But you're looking at 6 under par winning this championship, and the best player in the world won. I mean, what else do you want?
Look at the last 2 years of the major U.S. Open's been at Torrey Pines. How'd those work out?
Yeah.
08, Tiger, Rocco, that was a pretty good one. And then how about this? I mean, those are 2 legendary classic finishes on the PGA Tour. It was, I don't know what all the hate is about that place, but I thought it was really good. The only thing that was, and this is just what you're going to get at Torrey with all the different grasses that grow in that rough. I went out and I walked around the entire course one day. It was blown away. You heard a lot of talk on it going into the week, but it was like, you could have a guy that hits it, both miss the fairway. I'll give you an example. 13, the par 5. I walked around, was watching Wyndham for a few holes, group in front of him. 2 guys miss it in the right fairway, just a couple yards in, right? Like lands in the first cut, bounces in. 2 balls within 5, I would say maybe even less, 4 yards of each other. One guy, I bet it was a 9-iron, maybe, hack out, barely could get it over the bunkers, rolled it to the top of the hill for his layup, had a long third in. The guy 2-3 yards away from him pulled out 3-wood and blew it down there by the bunk. I mean, it was so spotty. I mean, you'd walk around, I'd look at a piece of grass or a spot of grass there and say, I don't think I could even advance it more than 100 yards. And then 2 feet over, I'd be like, I could hit driver off the deck right there. It was
okay. That's
it was
a little
spotty.
That's a little aggressive. But man, it was an awesome week. So much fun to watch. And I think a lot of people, including myself, bag on the USGA a lot. But if you look back to the last 6 U.S. Opens, we've had Brooks Koepka win twice, Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Gary Woodland, Bryson DeChambeau. Like, the champions are working out all right, even though I hate all over how they sometimes set their golf courses up. They're getting a very good champion every year at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, they're getting the best champions. I mean, these guys, there's no sleepers at the top. These guys are all coming in there. And then you had Richard Bland coming into the weekend, which was kind of like a fairy tale story. I don't think a lot of people expect him to hang around, but that was a cool story. Mackenzie Hughes coming into the final round too, trying to put Canada on his back. He had a lot to deal with. But I mean, dude, it's getting you the best champions in the world. And the way Rahm did it, I mean, And a pissed off Spaniard is a dangerous Spaniard. It was just everyone wanted to pick Jon Rahm. Everyone wanted to, the thing that happened at the Memorial, going back to Torrey, side of his first win, all the special stuff there for him. And it's like those narratives just rarely work out to where that guy that everybody wants to win and is picking to win, it rarely happens. And it sure as hell really rarely happens with two unbelievable, back-to-back. 617 was breaking 6-7 feet. That was a putt you just don't make. And then 18 to take his medicine like that after really a bad bounce on that second shot. I mean, if that ball just takes one extra hop and kind of trickles into the upslope there, that's a no problem for him. But it got just enough on the downslope that he had to play it out there. And goddamn if he didn't make it.
Well, I think it made the moment even more special because he was able to give the huge tiger-like fist pump when he made that putt. But man, I'm just so happy for him. I mean, this guy, he works as hard as anybody. He's a good friend of ours, but only got to be on our show twice.
Only two-time guest at this point.
But this could really do something scary for his career. I mean, getting this first major out of the way. I would say he hasn't performed the way he wanted to in majors up to this point, and now he gets a huge win at the U.S. Open. Look out, because he is going to be a problem in these things every single time, I feel like.
Just look at the last two times out, and he had to take a little break in between the two. He would have won Memorial by a lot, most likely, playing probably the best golf he said he's ever played in his career. Then he has to take some time off. He comes back and does this. I think the first major is always the toughest one, especially if you started the conversation, who's the best player without a major right now? Jon Rahm would have been right at the top of that thing for every single person. So you hear that, and the longer you go without getting it, the more and more you have to answer it. Now it'll probably be Xander maybe taking over that title. But to get that first one off, it's just you don't have to answer those anymore. You've got it. No matter what, you've got it. And I just think it makes the rest of them easier going in each week.
How about these two stats? You mentioned Xander Schauffele, but Jon Rahm, I believe, has played 109 PGA Tour events. He has 51 top 10s. Yeah, it's sickening how consistent he is. Xander Schauffele has finished top 10 in his first 5 U.S. Opens. Only other player to do that, Bobby Jones.
Neither of the guys ever play bad. You're more shocked when you see them beyond the second page of the leaderboard than you are when you see them, at the top. It's just they're a handful of guys that just seems to rarely ever play bad golf. And that's hard to do when you play that many weeks out there. You're just gonna have weeks where you don't have it or you're not invested or whatever. Those guys seem to not have it. And Xander had a lot of people pulling for him out there. I mean, when I was out there, that Phil, Xander, Max group had probably 20% of the entire, crowd watching them. He's the guy that's, he's a popular pick every single time he'll get his, but it's just that first one is so hard, man. There's so many good guys trying to get him. I mean, there's only 4 of them a year. Damn.
We got to talk about Brooks Koepka, though, because it is unbelievable what this guy does. I mean, he plays awful in South Carolina the week before, Congaree. Come to the U.S. Open. People are like, okay, is he healthy? Is his game good? I don't know. He's the most difficult person to read I've ever seen on the PGA Tour. Like, here he is. He can hardly squat down, which it's getting better, it looks like. But then the bell goes off in a major championship, and boom, there he is. I really was surprised with the struggle he had yesterday coming in because I thought he was going to get in there. I thought he was going to post 4 or 5 under and just give everybody something to look at. But it is so impressive how he rises to the moment at these major championships.
When he first came out and said, I don't really care about other golf tournaments, all I want is major championships, I was kind of like, all right, do I believe that? Or is that just something that a guy that's happened to play well in a bunch of major championships says as an excuse for not playing as well during regular tour events, right? And when he first said it, I was like, come on, dude. That's not true. You care. Everyone wants to win everything type of deal. And then now the more that it happens, the more I'm like, this actually is true. He has found a way to just be better and be at his best every single time there's a major championship. And I actually buy into it now. Yeah. I'm like, because there's no way you can just go concrete, not care, no nothing, show up this week, contend again. Then he's going to play this next week. And I'm like, I don't know that he gives a shit about being out there. But he just has the ability to do it. Like no one I've ever really seen in golf. It's wild.
I think in the last 4 U.S. Opens he's played, obviously he won 2 of them. He's been beaten by 4 people total.
Yeah, it's something weird like that, and he didn't play in one of them. Yeah, I mean he just has whatever it is. I mean everyone talks about trying to peak for the majors. He actually does it, and he actually has it figured out. And I don't know how the hell he does it, but it's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, but couldn't be happier for our guy Jon Rahm getting that first major championship. Awesome. So happy for him. Can't wait to drink out of that trophy.
Oh, we're going to slam out of that thing.
And we're going to erase Gary Woodland's name as I always do. And I have the U.S. Open trophy in my hand. But we've been talking a lot about some good golf. Let's get to some bad golf. Our guest this week Bryce
It's
Bruce
harsh.
Molder.
Bryce, that wasn't me, dog.
Just kidding. One of my favorite guys that I ever got paired with on the PGA Tour, Bryce Molder, absolute stud in college. I mean, 4-time first-team All-American, won on the PGA Tour, recently stepped away from the game in one of the driest sense of humors you'll ever come across.
Oh, well, just like the sneaky funny guy, not the loud guy on the range, anything. One of those guys you got to listen to. I love playing golf with Bryce Molder. Actually, he was a guy I looked up to, like, as a young kid. We grew up in the same town in Arkansas as a kid, and he was the guy doing it.
You wrote him a fan letter.
I wrote him a letter, which we'll talk about in the interview, that maybe the only letter, the last actual real letter that I've written. But he's a stud. You mentioned it legitimately in the conversation for the best collegiate player of all time. And a unique story because a lot of people play golf until golf kind of kicks them out and says, nope, you're not good enough to be out here anymore. And he's a guy that just said, you know what, I could keep doing this, but I don't really want to, which is, I mean, not a lot of guys do that. And he's happier now, I think, than he's ever been. But it's a cool story.
Yeah. So I was up at Pine Canyon recently where he lives, and we were playing. It was myself, Jamie Stowitz, Scott Harrington-Larrington, and Nate Lashley. And he comes out, Bruce does with his dog, and he's talking trash as he does. And as he's leaving, he goes, all right, hope you all play like shit, except for you, Nate. You're nice. See you later. Just walks away. I'm like, that's Bryce right there.
There it is. That's the guy. That's the guy. But you can't not like him. It's all dry all the time, and he's just good dude to be, just good energy to be around.
All right, well, let's get to it. Here's Bryce Molder on Golf Subpar. Before we get to our man Bryce Molder, I want to tell you about TaylorMade and this awesome new golf ball, Tour Response. Every tour pro on earth swears by urethane golf balls, and there are plenty of expensive options for tour golf balls for those that want that. But if you're the kind of golfer that wants more performance for less, there's Tour Response from TaylorMade.
That's exactly right, Colt. You don't need to go out there and spend a grizz on some very expensive golf balls that are just going to end up blowing into the water or the weeds. The Tour Response is a tour quality ball that doesn't cost as much. It's a 3-piece urethane golf ball that's easy to compress, Colt. Mm-hmm. It's easy to launch, Colt. It's easy to play, Colt. And it delivers the type of spin that tour players would love in a ball that's designed for you. What's better than that?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. TaylorMade Tour Response. Swear by it, not at it. Use code SubparTM for free 2-day shipping. That's code SubparTM for free 2-day shipping.
We got a certified dude with us here today. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. He is arguably the greatest collegiate golfer to ever play the game, PGA Tour winner, and for a fact, the only guest we've ever had, Colt, who has received a fan letter from one of the hosts here at Subpar.
Well, it wasn't me.
Bryce Molder in the building. It wasn't you? Yeah.
I definitely didn't send Bryce a letter. What did this letter contain?
I sent Bryce a letter, dude. You want to tell about it?
Well, yeah. So we grew up in the same hometown. We lived in the same hometown when we were kids. You did for a little while. So it was like weird Arkansas kind of stuff, right? So
that's well said.
Right. You played baseball with my cousin. You know, your dad was my uncle's boss. But and I didn't know you well because you were quite a bit younger. But apparently, I was somewhat of an idol.
A deal.
I thought you were going to say, because you're not very good.
A deal.
So I didn't know who you were.
Well, I didn't know yet.
I was
right? I didn't know that he wasn't.
I think I was in first grade, by the way, or second at the time. But I moved to Colorado. Like I said, we have all these family connections. Bryce is the guy. And I'm just getting into golf. I think I just finished my 6th grade year going into 7th. And you just come off this massive freshman year or whatever. And my mom's like, oh, remember Bryce from Conway? Like, he's really good at golf. And I read this, Golf Week article. And I wrote you a fan letter. And asked you to sign some stuff and send it back. And sure enough, guess what this gentleman did? Signed it. Sent me a sleeve of Georgia Tech golf balls and a hat signed by, which probably some sort of violation.
So later, much later, when he was now a member of Whisper Rock, asked for a signature and said it was for your nephew or something.
Dude.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
That was last week. I just wanted it for my mantle. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Do you still have the letter? That would actually be great. Do you still
There's
have
no
it?
chance I have the letter.
Yeah, no. I don't have any of your
I had somebody taking care of that for me. I never saw it.
I don't have any of your signed shit.
You had people in college taking care of your autographs.
After the shellacking,
we had people for that.
At the father son, I threw it all into the weeds.
Okay, enough about you, Sleaze. Let's talk about Bryce Molder. Like you said, PGA Tour winner, 4-time first-team All-American, which is incredible. But let's go to the beginning. When you were a young fella growing up in Arkansas, was it all golf? Because I've heard from some sources you got a pretty sweet jump shot.
So I played just about every sport where you could kind of choose to not get hurt, right? So everything but football, right? So yeah, basketball, I just kind of floated around the 3-point line. Played a little tennis, played a lot of soccer, played baseball until it kind of got in the way of golf. And then kind of by 14, 15, I kind of shut everything else down. And it's, everybody's like, well, how do you make that choice? And you're like, well, beating people is more fun than losing. And everybody else is getting bigger and faster, and I'm not. And so golf was it. And so then, kind of 13, 14, 15, focus in on golf and off we go.
Off you go. And
Yeah.
off you go to Georgia Tech. How big of a junior recruit were you? Because you went to Georgia Tech was like the school at the time. Were you winning everything?
So it was Charles Howell, and then it was Boyd Summerhays and I that kind of jockeyed when we were 17 for kind of the second spot. Nobody was better than Charles. He beat everybody. So, but I went to Oklahoma State, Arkansas, and Georgia Tech were the schools I visited. So chose Georgia Tech. I knew a couple guys that signed, and then the coach at the time was recruiting me as the Oklahoma State assistant. And for whatever reason, I wanted to get out of a small town, go to a big city, and attempt to grow up a little bit.
And Georgia Tech, here we come.
Work? Yeah. It was it turned out to be such a good choice because it did. It forced me. Well, no, I was interested in the academics. I knew I was going to do something later. I was stupid enough to think I was going to go in and get a civil engineering degree and build golf courses. And literally the dean of engineering at the time was kind of a family friend. I had a cousin that went there, and he's like, you realize that you pay a civil engineer go, to do the work for you. You go be really good at golf. Otherwise, you're going to be in school here for 7 years. The average student's there for 5 years. I'd still be there after seeing some of the curriculum. So I went the business management route, which is what you do as an athlete at Georgia Tech, and that was easily the best choice. I dated a couple girls that were in engineering, and it was just after the first semester, it was just
Was one of those girls the Onion?
That's great. That's great. That's so great. That's so great.
I saw an opportunity, so I took it.
Slid right in. I didn't expect it so early.
So I know who you've been talking to, and I did. I dated a girl for a little while, and I mean, she's just the sweetest. I'm sure she still is. Just the sweetest, most wholesome girl, and she lived in Vidalia, Georgia. So she got nicknamed by my team the Onion, and they like to pick on her because she was literally the sweetest thing ever. But yeah, so those were
why the
so
Onion
great.
though? I don't.
Vidalia Onion.
Onions aren't sweet.
No, Vidalia Onion. That's that's all it is. You drive. That's in that part of the world. If you mention Vidalia, you're like, oh, onions, yeah.
Oh, I thought there was you had to peel back the layers or
no. That's literally it. It's like the world famous home of the onion. Yeah. So they call her the Onion. All
right, well, we got that out of the way.
Okay.
I wonder what she's up to these days.
Yeah.
Probably thinking about the day she let Bryce Molder slip through her fingers.
I'm guessing that's not the case, but yeah. So,
all right, well, let's talk a little more about college because you had one of the most everyone that you talk to, all your friends, they'll be like, he's the greatest college player that a lot of people don't honestly talk about. You're 4-time first-team All-American is unbelievable. I think one of only 4.
One of 4. Nobody was better than Phil. Statistically, Phil, he won 20-something times, won 3 NCAA championships, was a 4-time All-American. And then after that, I don't know. I was good in college. I played a lot of good golf in college, and I wish I could have carried that a little bit through. But it was college was fun. It was a fun time. Anytime winning, and beating people, and knowing that if you step out there and you play well, that you feel like there's nobody that can beat you.
People feared you.
It's weird. I remember
that is very strange,
right? No, I remember sitting in an airport, and Camilo Villegas was he was talking to me. He was like, "Man, do you realize how intimidating it was?" He was a freshman, I was a senior, to see your name on the board because he won regionals, I think, my senior year, and I finished second. And he goes, "Do you realize how intimidating that was?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Dude, you don't and I never would have seen it or thought of it that way. But I remember playing, and I remember thinking, I'm going to run out of holes, otherwise I'd catch them. I had that much confidence, which is pretty fun.
When you're beating everyone in college like you were, did you have a rival, one guy you wanted to beat more than anyone else?
Yeah, Who? So my rival was Luke Donald. So second year in college, I was leading in the points. We go to Hazeltine for NCAAs. We all play so bad. We missed the cut by a million. We were ranked number 1 and missed the cut by. We finished 28th out of 30 teams. Just awful. And the only person that could catch me was Luke, and he wins. And then something happened later like my senior year, I was preseason player of the year, and something weird happened with our coaches or athletic directors. His athletic director like wrote a letter to Golf Week, or like there was some weird thing. And then I saw him that week at the preview and played with him and won. And so it was kind of great to kind of do that. But then I'd say he probably I never played him at Walker Cup, but I'd say he probably got the best of me professionally. But that was probably my rival out of my my own team. But and Cooch and I, yeah. So
well, I was going to say you had the wonderful Matt Kuchar.
So yeah, I mean so Cooch was a year older, so he was so he was a sophomore when I came in, and he just won the U.S. Amateur. So it was like perfect. Like now looking back on it, for him to have like all the attention and play really well, and for me to just kind of fly under the radar, I mean, was kind of perfect for me. But it created this perfect like environment for both of us to try to beat one another while we want both of us to play well. But we knew, we kept track of each other. I know he kept track of me because he'd remind me a few times, and I kept track of him, which was good. I mean, there's nothing better than even like qualifying, knowing that if you win qualifying, like you're beating the best players. So
I was gonna say, tell us a little bit about Cooch, because everyone thinks that Cooch is just this smiling, happy, nice fella.
So great.
Give us a little insight to your boy Matt Kuchar.
So I will say, he wishes like no ill will on anyone, which is amazing because I couldn't say that about myself. I'd like to say that about myself, but it's but yeah, I've seen him go ballistic a couple times, and it's so fun because you've seen, especially back then, he was like the wonder kid, the smile.
Yeah. Oh shucks.
Yeah. And I remember we were in a practice round somewhere, and he was just going nuts because he was playing bad, and we were beating him out of money, and we knew him well enough to be like, hey, Matt, where's that beautiful smile? Like, what is this attitude? And I remember his caddy coming up to me after a round at Harbor Town and going, I need to tell somebody this. I need to tell somebody. And Cooch just came off of, I think, playing with Tiger right after like all the mess that Tiger kind of got in at the Masters. Played with them for 2 days, got in contention. Played pretty well, and so like stress, and he had family with him and all this kind of stuff, and I guess he played bad, and he was playing bad at Harbor Town, and he went off like kind of in the woods behind, I remember him telling a story, like behind 15 fairway, and every time I see that fairway I think of this. He goes, yeah, Matt like kind of went around the corner and he just started wailing on some palm trees. He goes, it sounded like he was like wrestling with a buffalo or something in there, and so I guess like Cooch came out and he was like, I've been needing to do that for like 5 days, but like, but he's smart enough that of course like the camera would never get that or whatever. But no, he likes to have some fun, and he likes to win. So when he doesn't win, he's pissed. But there's never like a like I hate that guy or whatever. It's actually with good intentions.
And he's like a funny dude. I feel like y'all, like, I don't know Cooch, but you have a very dry, kind of witty sense of humor. I feel like from some of the lines I've heard from him from other people, like he's got that same kind of
it's good
humor.
I
bet y'all had some battles.
So what's funny about Matt is his humor is just to make himself laugh. Like most people, it's to try to make other people like. But he will literally, you'll be sitting at dinner, and he'll try to say the thing that makes you the most awkward, like or make you just so uncomfortable, just to see how it plays out. It's like just kind of sets fire to something, just kind of see what's going to happen. He just kind of sits back and laughs, and it's actually great. Like how great would it be to go through life where you're like, I don't really care. Like I'm going to do something that I think's funny. Like, but he's got a good sense of humor, and so we definitely had some fun, and we've had some fun since college.
Yeah, sneaky good trash talker. But I got to ask you about the putter that he used to win the U.S. Amateur.
That's right.
Because apparently he let you borrow it, and he said he's still kind of. He told me he's still looking for it.
He's asked for it like a couple times. So no kidding. I've got the putter. It's the ugliest ping cushion. It's so beat to hell. Like, and part of it's because when, like with that putter, I wouldn't do it with a Scotty Cameron. It's so ugly. Like I would mistreat it if it wasn't treating me very well. Like, drag it to the next hole or whatever. So the thing's just beat to hell. I mean, so he putted with it, I think the whole freshman year, and then he won the amateur with it. Low amateur in the Masters, low amateur in the U.S. Open. Played with it somewhere another year or so, and then he put it on the rack, and in his room, or just had it in his room, and I took it, and he let me. I didn't take it, but I started putting with it, and I putted with it for like 8 years. So I think we were both. It's weird. I think we were both Player of the Year in college with it. I know we were both low amateur in the U.S. Open with it. I think we both played in a Walker Cup with it. We both like won in college, whatever, with it. But so that putter's made a little bit of
Tiger, Scotty
history.
Cameron, Nicholas's, whatever that
There's
thing
no
was.
yeah, it's right there.
Bryce Molder and Matt Kuchar's king.
Boom.
Yeah.
You still got it?
Yeah, I still got it.
Why don't you slide that baby on eBay? See how bad he wants it.
Every once in a while I'll take it out. It's still got this like weird gauze tape that I used to put on. I can't even find it anymore. But it's like it's been in the Arizona garage for so many years that you pick it up and there's like stuff all over your hands, I'm telling you, it's beat to hell. But it's the ugliest thing. I don't know how either one of us made, because we both had it like hands low and way forward, so it had 7 degrees loft on it. But the toe had to have like been way up in the air when we both putted with it, which makes no sense. But it had to have been. But made some putts. A lot of putts.
You could putt with a sledgehammer. I think you could figure out.
That's about what this thing is.
If there's one thing you could figure out, it's how to putt. All right. Well, then you launch into your professional career. Coming out, you're the guy. First ever professional event as a pro. You finished 3rd in Reno. At that point, are you like, hey, this is going to be exactly like Georgia Tech? I'm just going to start beating heads.
So yeah, like I remember being interviewed. I turned pro, and that week. And I remember being interviewed, and they're like, so what are your plans? What do you expect? And I remember talking about winning. Like, I don't know, if I play well. It was never like I expect to win, I'm better than everybody. It was just like, if I play well, I expect to have a chance to win. And I almost feel like talking about it so much that week like forced me into that mindset. I played really good on Friday, and then Saturday went kind of crazy on the back 9 and made a bunch of putts, and I was final group, first time out, finished 3rd. And it's kind of like, well, I mean, this just isn't that hard. And then I missed the cut the next week, and I think I suck.
There it is.
I've never missed a cut in my life for, whether it was USAM or, you don't have many cuts. I think the only thing I missed was like a US Open qualifier or something, which means you finish like 10th out of 80 people instead of 4th. But like, it was so weird. It was like dealing with rejection for the first time. And then I got to face a lot of it. But it's tough when you all of a sudden, and I say that now, like watching guys play that haven't really struggled. I'm like, we'll wait and see, because until somebody struggles and, until somebody sucks for a little while, it's all relative, but you feel like that, until you kind of suck for a little while, like you don't really know what somebody's career is going to be like.
Looking back, what do you think the biggest difference between, amateur and college golf to professional golf was for you?
I think I got away with a lot of stuff as an amateur player that caught up. Golf swing, I didn't have great fundamentals, but I knew how to play the game so well, and I putted and chipped so well, and I didn't have any fear because I didn't have a reason to yet. And then you start hitting some balls offline, you start missing some cuts, and you start, what is this? But I think too, I look back and I'm like, it was so much easier to play. It's like if you're 10 playing against 12-year-olds, like you kind of have nothing to lose. And so you get to a point where you're like, no, I'm actually expected to play great. And when I play great, it's not exceeding anybody's expectation. It's just like, that's the expectation. And that was what was hard to kind of live up to. And but that's what's impressive about some of these guys that come in, can't lose, blah, 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 and then you just keep playing well. But part of it too is what I found is like, if you're good at something, like no matter how nervous you are, you're going to perform. And if you're not that great at it and you've been getting away with it, it'll come to the surface.
And what part of your game do you think that was for you?
Driver. I mean, I was hitting it so crooked.
So crooked.
I'm the worst player of all time. Like, the guy won on tour.
It's like, and I mean, when you start analyzing your weeks by how many provisionals you hit, like when you step up on the tee and you're like, there's the driving range. I'm pretty sure this is going there. Like, left to right wind, and you're like, you think about walking the tee with 2 balls, And
I've never seen this side of you.
Oh, it's so
this
great. No.
is
Dude,
ridiculous.
He used to come back from tournaments and we'd be hitting balls on the right before you and I were going to play or whatever.
Yeah.
And like the way you would talk to yourself, I was like, it was while you were still playing, like still a tour player. He's playing the next week, and he's like, I am literally the worst driver to ever hit the golf ball. Like I'd watch him hit balls, and it'd be just seed, nice, straight and all this stuff. I'm like, what is the matter with you? Like everything is fine, and you were always just.
Oh, it's not
I'm
fine.
the worst driver in history.
I mean, you give me 3 or 4 balls in a row, I'll get pretty good. Like I'll get the timing of it, and then you make me wait like 30 seconds, and you put an extra set of eyeballs on me, and there was no telling. And so, but it was, so I spent a good like 5 years, going to the course. It didn't matter how good the warm up was because I knew that didn't really count. So I'd go to the first tee. No, it doesn't. Like you get to hit ball after ball, and you can get a rhythm. I could always get a rhythm, but then all of a sudden, you step over the first tee, and it's like, all right, which one's going to show up now? And so it was, my mechanics were terrible, and I was just in a tailspin for like 5 years, and it's
terrible.
Oh,
It
dude,
wasn't
so
terrible,
bad.
Dude, it wasn't terrible.
I watched you hit one of the best tee
wasn't
shots
terrible.
of your career.
Oh, what's that one?
Number 4 at Bay Hill. Just an absolute seed. It went 57 yards.
This is so great. This is so great.
Was it a 3-1?
No, it was a driver.
Driver?
Oh, dude, it was.
Oh, shit.
So number 4 at Bay Hills, par 5, and of course I see houses down the right because anytime wind's off the left, like it doesn't matter. They're all in play. So there's this tree that's like 47.5 yards off the tee. And I'm like, on the left side, and I'm like, well, I'll just take it over that and hit just a big high cut and kind of ride the wind. It's probably the only way I can get home anyway. And you know what? I'll just start it far enough over there that like that little ditch and then the houses that are way over there is just not in play. And so I'm like, oh, I'll just, take it up top, right? And I thin it, and it literally just whacks. What was it, like 2/3 of the way up the tree? It wasn't that close.
It wasn't close to
It
covering.
wasn't close. And it just hits it, and fortunately, it like went straight down, thump, right on the next tee box. Perfect. And there's something.
No, because it was just like was dead silent, and Big E was caddying for you, and you go, Eric, does that count as a fairway? And he's like, I'm not sure, Bryce. He goes, I'm gonna need you to check that out.
It's a T-box in regulation.
Right.
And I still had to hit, and I'm like just dying laughing. I backed off my tee shot. I was like, holy shit, you're gonna be the only guy I have a longer driving distance than this week because that was a driving distance.
Of course,
hole.
and that was probably the next thought. I was like, you think about it, you're like, all right, this is driving distance hole. You need to hit the fairway because you need that roll. Otherwise, everybody's gonna keep making fun of you for being short.
I texted later. I go, you averaged 183
You're
off the tee
averaging
today.
147 off the tee.
So great. Yeah, that's
beautiful.
right. Yeah, no, I think that counted closely or whatever. Yeah, I think that
was a
I think
fairway.
it was a fairway hit.
You had to go over, and
It
this
helped.
other group like waiting for you, and you're like, "Hey guys, sorry." You had to go.
No,
over
it was the next tee box. It
Yeah.
was the white
it was like
tees.
the white tees, yeah.
Oh, the next tee box.
So
Oh,
we,
okay.
it went from
was straight.
550 par 5 to 500 par 4, and just go after
No
it.
problem.
I made my 6, went to the next hole, no big
Keep
deal.
it moving.
Yeah.
Off the stats.
Just
on the
don't make
par
dubs.
fives.
Yeah,
No
it's all
dubs.
good.
6s you bounce back from. It's those 7s you got to stay away
But
from.
I took the ditch out of play. I mean, that's the main thing.
Genius.
Yeah, it's great.
But
Actually,
you had a
smart.
very
That's
smart when
I
you think
forgot
about it.
that.
I love that story. It was so fun. That was also the round our good friend Lucas Glover started battling a little bit with the putter.
Yeah.
And it went from 3 guys having a blast, all playing well and chumming
Okay.
it up to
Bryce
I don't
can't
think
get
a
up.
word was spoken to each other the last 10 holes.
It got weird, and but that's like a perfect example of. So Lucas has had some problems with short putts. Okay, he's like, I think he would tell you he's not very good at it, and so just like I was not very good with a driver, but yet with a driver with a long club, he's crazy good, and it's like it doesn't matter how nervous you are. We watched him hit quite a few putts on one hole,
leading the golf tournament to going to hopefully
and,
make
well,
the cut.
and then
yeah.
the most impressive thing is he steps up. You remembered it too. He stepped up on the next hole with a driver and just hit on a hole that there's no chance I'm hitting that 9th fairway with it. It's in and off the left, and it's a little dogleg left. I'm playing from the right trees every time. Well, after I think he 4-putted the hole before, and he gets up and he just hits this perfect 317-yard draw that's like never left the middle of the fairway. And I'm just like, no, he falls out of bed doing that. We fall out of bed making 6-footers.
Yeah.
Which
It was-
are not as helpful.
It was crazy because when
Not
we're all
as
playing
well.
well, it's a good time out
Yeah.
there. We're all chirping each other,
Yeah.
having a good time, and then It's like one person had something
Yep.
bad, and you'd have thought we were at a funeral. The rest,
Yeah.
I couldn't get that.
It
round over with
happens.
quick enough.
Yeah, the vibe of a
That's
group
the
can
worst,
change
especially
quick.
when you're playing with buddies and one of them's having something, and you're like, then they get dragged down, then you get dragged down. You're hitting 57-yard drives, he's 4-whacking. It's like, oh, Colt's the only one. Like, guys, come on. I'm just hitting it straight and in the fairway,
240 hitting
probably.
the wood
And
onto
then
the green.
4
Oh,
hybrid
so
on the
good.
green. Everyone come along with me.
4 hybrid.
We had a couple good
Can you
ones
hit-
throughout our time. We played together at the Players.
I don't remember that.
No,
let's just
we're
move
going
on.
to
I
talk
don't
about
think
this
that
because
Cut
That
this.
didn't happen.
you being
Nah, we
you,
didn't.
this is fantastic. So we're playing together. You, myself.
Well, let's
and
talk
we-
about the debacle on 18 the day before when we got on the clock right after you fat hooked it in the water, which was awesome.
I've never heard this. I
Oh,
only
that's
hear
the
about
best part.
the
Thursday
six-
was
dude.
better than Friday.
Okay, well, go ahead. So you
So-
start with Thursday, and I'll lead to Friday.
Yeah,
I'll
we
go to Friday.
we're playing. Yeah, we were afternoon because we played more the next day, and I remember we may have been behind, but when you play 17, you have to walk way around and blah 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 whatever, and then you hit some weird.
Oh,
I swear you like fat hooked it or
it
something.
was a snipe.
It was
It
bad.
did not cross
On 18?
anywhere. I had to drop about 60 yards
With
ahead
the
of me.
dog?
Yeah,
That's
it was not
unlike
good.
you.
I was
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to.
It was
Very
I was
weird.
trying to
unlike
cover the corner. a
And
little
And
bit.
somewhere-
That thing outright.
Somewhere between him hitting the tee shot and dropping, we got put on the clock. Like, think about the
I
timing
literally
of all.
was getting ready to drop my ball, and this rules official, I won't say his name, but he's not the nicest human in the world, drives up on the tee and goes, "You guys are on the clock." And I'm like, "Well, can I drop my freaking golf ball first?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then literally, we were off the clock in the next fairway.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. We got up in the next hole, and there was a group up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
That's
But it leads to Friday, and like I said, him and William McGirt, and we're all going good. But, golfers are selfish, and they get in a zone, which I was in one that day. I was playing very,
Not
very
you,
nice.
Cole. You're
Well, I didn't play good
of
very
the
often.
people.
That's just your normal golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had it 10 under through 17. Get to 18. I hit the green on the front left part, and the pin was over on the right. And us being, I would say he is well. We know what history in golf is, and we know 63 is the low shot at the Players. I'm like, oh my god, if I can just 2-putt this thing, we got the record. Well, what do? I 3-putt. First person to come up to me, my good friend Bryce Molder, said, "Nice fucking 3-putt. Way to fuck it up." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I can't believe it." He goes, "No, I don't give a shit about the course record." He goes, "That was the only bogey in our group today." And
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
Threesome.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's all
Had no
about the
clue.
group, dude.
Well, he's kind of selfish, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's all
well, to be
Cole.
fair, he was high made in the group with 67. Nice playing.
I was guiding it in there. Like,
Just
you
steer
got to
it home.
guide it in
Play
there.
the weekend.
Yeah.
It's a big purse,
It's not
dude.
a big deal.
So that was the first thing
Yeah.
said to me. Then the first text I got was from Charlie Hoffman saying, "Nice 3-putt." So
It's
That's
good
how
to
you
have
know
felt
who your
really
friends are.
good. Yeah.
Your friends are not the ones that tell you how great you are. Like
true.
that's anybody can get those. It's
the
the
guys
friends
that
that
bury
remind
you when you're at your lowest.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
love it. Well, let's talk a little bit about your first PGA Tour win because
let's get
that
to
was
the highlight
that was a
reel.
long time.
First
coming.
one?
Well,
Or
your
the only
first and only.
Okay.
Hey,
all
it's
right.
more than we got.
Hey, we don't know. You never know. I may.
True.
Yeah,
No, that's
you've
not
been-
gonna happen.
You're still
Yeah.
a pro.
You've been
Yeah.
working really
Yeah.
hard at your
Still a
Yeah,
game.
I've been working hard. Yeah.
But 2011, what is now known as the Safeway, you get that first win in a playoff over Briny Baird. 6-hole
Epic.
playoff. Epic
Epic.
playoff. What do you
Yeah.
remember about that week?
Well, they replay it all the time. I mean, how could you not
Shell's
remember it?
Wonderful World.
Right? It's on. It's on every decade or so. So I was playing well, and I always remembered I bogeyed the first 2 holes of that tournament, which was always kind of cool to like have in the back of your mind that.
Did you book your plane ticket on 3 for Friday?
You had that pre-booked.
Yeah.
That's what I used to
It's
do.
probably pre-booked. I booked a lot of flights
Yeah.
on Thursday night or Friday halfway through the round, but no, so I think I shot like even part of the first round, then I started playing really good, and I got it home over the weekend. But I remember that was one of the first times post struggling, which is why like when I watch, it's a real thing. Like the scar tissue, the mental like anguish that you go through builds up over time, and that was the first time that I'd come back and I was like, no, I'm gonna go try to play. I'm gonna go try to win. And the reason I knew that was because I hit it like 20 feet on the first hole, and I ran it 3 feet by, and my first thought wasn't, oh no, you just ran it 3 feet by. It was, damn, it didn't make that. Like, and it even caught me off guard. I'm like, well, that's different. And then the next hole I had like 20 feet and I hooped it. I'm like, okay, this feels different. Let's go. And then, things kind of fell together. It was kind of a cool finish. He chipped in for eagle on 17. I heard it, saw the leaderboard before I had to hit a wedge shot on 18, and hit it close enough. And actually, I made like a 15-footer from the back part, like behind the green, and I'll be the first to admit, like I hit a bad putt. Like I totally pulled it. No, I
made it.
Well, no, but it's like some of your best putts you don't make. So I literally, I can't remember if I pulled it or pushed it. I remember it was half a cup offline or a cup offline, and I just misread it too. And, all right, so I'll take it. I'm clutch. Yeah.
Yeah, don't ever admit that, dude. Just
right?
Isn't
that great? I mean, I'll be happy to tell you about all the putts that I hit well that I got screwed on. So, yeah, and then we went back and forth on 17, 18. 17's drivable when they moved the tees up, and from going from not being able to hit a driver on the planet to being able to hit that green 3 times in a row in the playoff was pretty fun. But that's the difference in when your mechanics are decent and you know where it's going. Where you can forget about the really bad shots and go hit a golf shot when things are going well. So, and then had to make about a 6 or 8 footer on the 18th hole to finally do it. So
and just crush Bryony, who had the longest winless.
Send him out forever right now.
He ended his career. Son of a bitch.
So
Bryony hates
I remember at the time looking, and he'd made like 14 point something million and not one. And I started thinking, I'm like, that's a lot of really good golf. And then unfortunately, I think he's dealt with some injuries and stuff. So, but yeah, so that was the epic. And if you haven't seen it, just tune in. It's like it's on like every other hour.
It'll be on tomorrow.
Like if there was a classic golf, it would be on. It'd be on nonstop. Yeah.
Are you talking about this scar tissue? I know you saw sports psychologists and things like that throughout your career. Give me the best piece of advice, or what got you. You said this was post struggle. What's the best piece of advice you got from a sports psychologist?
I worked with.
If there's anything that comes to mind.
No, I worked with a couple of guys. One I became really close friends with. That still works with some guys out there. That's a sports psychologist and works with people in the financial world and whatever. But and we're close, and we had some good times. But there was this one guy that I was introduced to through another player, and I never met him in person. Like he was true like shrink. He was a psychoanalyst. I don't know what the right terminology is. So, but literally I'd call him like every Wednesday at whatever time, and like I wouldn't lay on a couch, but essentially it was a session, right? So, but he was funny because he would get like down to it. No, it was great because he wasn't like this. Oh, so how do you feel, Colt? What does that make you feel? Like he got to the point, right? And one of the things he taught me was just the fact that you're wrapping your golf shots up and your self-worth and blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I get that. And then one day he was like, all right, Bryce, let's think about tomorrow. All right, you're gonna tee off tomorrow at whatever tournament on the Corn Ferry that I was on. And he goes, what's the worst that can happen? And I'm thinking, well, I can hit it on the driving range.
One is a tough
like
drive.
3 times in a row. And then what do you call the next provisional? Like, that's what goes through my head. And he goes, no. He goes, there's 2 things that could happen where I would other than health or whatever. This was great. This is kind of the way he talked. He was kind of vulgar, but funny. And he goes, there's 2 things that happen that I would say too that it was just a bad day. It was like you could run out of balls, or you could shit your pants. He goes, if you did that, like, I would agree that's a pretty bad day. Like you should feel like less of a human. Like that's how he talked, right? And he was like, so bring a lot of golf balls and wear dark pants. Now, what else do we have to talk? I was like, it's weird, but like, it's actually really good advice because what's the worst that really is going to happen out there? So that was it. Don't run out of golf balls. Don't shit your pants.
Good news.
Genius.
I didn't run out of golf balls.
yeah, exactly.
I got good news and bad news.
But I had dark pants on. I'm good.
You got to use shit analogies for Bryce. Then it really starts to register as Georgia Tech
That's right.
education.
That's incredible. But I think to the surprise of a lot of people, you stepped away from the game in 2017. I believe it was at your Arkansas Hall of Fame induction, Arkansas Sports.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I said something about
Official.
it. Yeah.
That's where you made it official. That's where ESPN picked it up.
Yeah.
You're getting
it's
inducted
weird.
into the Hall of
Nobody
Fame.
missed me for like 6 weeks. Like nobody even knew I was gone.
But I mean, that's a big decision. I mean, this is something you've done your whole life, and then all of a sudden you decide this isn't for you anymore. Like, how did that decision come about?
Well, and it's weird because most times there's not like this moment when you. I'm not even going to say retire because I know you're going to say you didn't retire, you quit. So I'm just going to get out there.
What would I have done?
I quit. Yeah,
exactly.
But there's usually like this. You kind of keep playing. And I just didn't want any more of it when it was time. But it was even like 2014, 15, 16, I could tell that on paper everything looked fine. And, you know, if my game was held together with duct tape in like 2014, and by like 2016, it was like masking tape and it was all falling apart and I could just feel it. And so I was like, all right, I'm either going to get better, like actually better, be able to hit the ball at a level that helps me compete at the level that I want to play at, which is play in Ryder Cups and compete in majors, not like hope to qualify for some of this stuff or, you know, hope to keep my card. And so I was like, you know what, I'm willing to take a little bit of a gamble, work on my golf swing. And if it gets better, awesome. And if it doesn't, this is kind of ending anyway, you know? And so by like 2017, 2016 was a decent year on paper. There was never one time I went out and felt comfortable. I remember shooting like the back nine. Yeah, it was the back nine in the afternoon. One day in the front nine, shooting 59 at Colonial. And my buddy, and we had a rain delay, and I had lunch with a buddy. He's like, "Oh, things feel good." I'm like, "There's no chance this is holding on." Like, I mean, I got no chance.
59 of my last 18.
Like, seriously, I'm like, this has got no chance. You just tell. And then but I know that it's real because at other times, like I felt it where I'm like playing poorly. I'm like, no, I'm so close. But so we get to middle of summer in 2017, and I'm flying to Reno, and I've just made the cut, which was just like a Houdini act, and finished like 64th, only because I grinded out an MDF cut, right? So I've like convinced myself flying to Reno. I've got 2 starts left, and I've convinced myself halfway on the flight that I'm going to figure it out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm going to just start beating the world, right? Like maybe I had a little cocktail, maybe whatever, right? The air pressure in there was nice, and I just was, so I get to the course, register, and again, yeah, so we've got like 3 weeks left of the year. It's probably Reno, PGA, Greensboro, and then the FedEx, and I was like 185 or something. So I'm on the range, and it's like one of those real range sessions. You're hitting balls, you go have lunch, you come back, you hit balls. Well, now you start tinkering, and then you tinker some more, and then you start videoing, and like somewhere into like hour 7 on the day of like hitting balls, I'm full on, hit one ball, video it, go back, look at it, try something else, right? Just to like, and I remember looking down the range and seeing someone that's 10 to 12 years my elder.
Say it.
and just like seeing what my next 10 years is going to be like, because he's doing the exact same thing, right? I'm literally, you can see yourself, you're doing one of these, and you're drawing the lines, and you're kind of, and you reverse, and I look over, and I love him to death. So Dickie Pride,
there you go.
All right, you were is just like 30 feet down there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I love Dickie, but he's 10, 12 years older than I am, and I'm like, that's me in 10 years. I'm like, I'm so lost, but I know it. I'm like, I know I'm so at the end of the rope. I like packed up my bag, went back to the house, had a good cry, called my wife, like called some other people. Next morning withdrew and went home, and that was it. And the funny thing is, like running into Suzanne Barnes in the airport on like a Tuesday morning in Reno, headed to Phoenix, and she's like, Are you hurt? And I'm like, no. She's like, I'm like, I'm just going home. I'm done. And she was kind of like, all right, good for you. So then so that was it. I knew that it was over. There was like, I literally remember packing my bag, putting clubs in the bag, and as I'm walking off, I was kind of like, wow, no, this feels right. The story would have been better if it ended there. I actually played one more time, right? Well, no, I had like a week off, right? Had to. Well, no, I had a week off, and then there was Greensboro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not like I'm going to start a new career in the next like 10 days. I'm like, I need to know if I'm going to be done. I'm going to know it's done. Played Thursday, felt like sick on Friday. Withdrew. I was like literally dizzy and whatever. Woke up the next morning, felt great because I was like, that's when I knew. I'm like, no, this was the right choice. This was it. I'm done, and it's been every time I watch golf, every time I play golf, I'm reminded that it was the right decision.
Yeah,
and now that you like playing with you now, it's just great because I remember we were playing Whisper Up a few months ago, and you had like this 40-yard bunker shot, and you're like, all right, just like you've been practicing.
Yeah, just like we've been working on.
Exactly. I think I hit one of these about 2.5 years ago. It's pretty good.
But you seem like so much happier now that you stepped away.
Yes. Well, that's what I found. I found that I liked competing if I was winning. And I was like, I liked golf when I was playing well. And you learn, what do you actually like about the game? What do you like about all of it? But the competition part is I liked playing great, but there were other things that I was interested in. So it wasn't tough to move on, because I just kind of knew there's other stuff that I would enjoy doing. And then now I get to play golf and I don't have to care. I don't have to be good at it, which is really fun. And it's weird. Like, I can go out and play. If we played 5 years ago and I'd lost $20 to you, like, I'd be so mad and just like angry the whole time. And now I could lose 5 times that amount to you, and I'm like, other than wanting to beat you, I really don't like. It's fun. I'm out there. It's fun, and it's so it's so much more enjoyable. So that part of it's good.
You transitioned into the pro to I don't give a shit mode faster than anyone I've ever seen before. I got to tip my cap to you on that.
No, it only looked like I didn't care. No, it only looked like I didn't care really quickly.
Are there more guys out there playing right now that you think that feel kind of the same way you did, where they're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out? I know I don't want to do this anymore, but this is the only thing I've ever done, so I'll just stay here and try to make some money.
You hear it so much. I remember seeing in Greensboro. So when I was leaving Saturday morning, and I ran into Johnson Wagner, who's just an awesome dude, right? And he's playing really well that week, and he has to play well to keep his card. And I run into him in the hotel lobby, and he goes, "Hey, so what's next?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm done." And he's like, he's doing the math. He's kind of like, "I know you've played pretty bad this year. Like, you can see it spin in his head." And he's like, "You don't finals?" I'm like, "No, I'm done." He's like, done?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, I'm jealous. Like,
yeah,
like literally.
Holy shit, you had the balls to do it.
So then it's like, oh, how are your kids and all that kind of stuff. And his wife and his kids were sitting, like literally, 10, 12 feet away. And so he comes back, he goes, "Seriously? Done?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And he like turns to his wife, and she was like, kind of like gives that look like, "Yeah, I get it. Like, it's not always that fun." And so I've had quite a few that are like, "No, it's the guys that are out there playing, and they're struggling. Like, it's just, there's not much fun about, like, there's nothing fun about making bogeys. There's nothing fun about missing a cut. Like, that's just, it doesn't matter. There's just nothing fun about that. So when I realized that my best golf was going to be like 8th or 12th or 15th, and then it was kind of like, yeah, the upside's not outweighing the downside.
3 quitters sitting
Preaching
there.
to the choir. Here's to
right?
you, boys.
3
Golf sucks. What a bunch of losers out there making millions.
I love it.
And now, tell everyone what you're doing now, because you got out of that world. Now
But hold on, real quick. Like, you said you had 1 foot out the door. Like, I mean, nowadays, if any inch of you is not into it, like, you're screwed.
Oh, it's
over.
It's so hard. They're better. The players are better. They're coming out. It's they've been doing it. They've been focusing on it for longer. They're better athletes. Like, and they've got zero fear, because all of them now have no fear. So there's nobody that comes out that's kind of timid or whatever. So it's amazing to watch. It's fun to watch. The game is different, and that's fine. It just so happens everybody's like, "Oh, but you're such a good." There's guys at our club that we play with all the time, and they're like, "Oh, you're such a good putter. Like, you could be out there forever." And I'm like, no, you can't. The best putters in the world make up like a shot around. The best ball strikers make up like 2.5 shots around. Like, there's just no. And by the way, if you're a poor ball striker, you're losing 2 shots around. Like, do the math. You can't catch up. Yeah, like you're just losing. You're packing your bag. So statistically, it just became more and more obvious that if you can't hit it, pretty long, and know where it's going, and have kind of no fear in doing that, then it's not gonna be very fun.
Now you get to play cards, drink, have a good time, and shoot 80, and who gives a shit? It's the best.
It's great. Yeah.
Who cares?
Like,
I stink.
It's so fun. Now, like, step up on the first tee or step over the range, and I'm like, wait, what was the swing thought that I used last Monday? Did that? No, that one didn't work.
That didn't
Wait,
work.
what was? No, it was the previous Monday. Okay, yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, nah, that's not working. But like, you don't care. But it's I mean, you always like playing well is fun, but it's now I've been able to enjoy the game and the way you do like more is when you were a kid. It's you enjoy hitting good shots, and you kind of forget about the bad shots instead of the opposite, which is what happens to you as you play professionally or play competitively. The only thing you remember are the bad shots. You can go out and finish fifth, and all you remember is why you didn't finish better.
This episode's going to be a great lesson to all the kids out there about positivity.
Pros think just like you think. Amateurs.
Right.
Get on the range.
No,
Who gives
but
a shit. I'm going to blow it as soon
that
as I
was
get out there.
but it was funny because that was something that I talked about with my buddy Gio Valiente, who's a sports psychologist and works with a lot of people, and we had times where we would this wasn't the same shrink
he the
from
poop
before.
your pants guy?
No, he wasn't that guy. No, he never had that good of advice. So it was but part of what we would do is work every week because I pointed out, I said, dude, everybody I play with out here that's like 40 years and older, they're miserable. Like they are just miserable. What is it? And he's like, well, the game, he throws out this like psycho, whatever. But he goes, well, how about this? How about we like try to combat that? Let's talk about what you actually enjoy being out there. So I would weekly, like at times, not all the time, but like work on what I enjoyed about it because it's so easy to like forget about it. But again, you're just taught to remember the poor shots and not the good ones. And so you leave playing really well and you hit 3 weird shots and that's all you think about.
Yeah. The mind of a golfer.
It's a beautiful.
And now
a
hit
fickle beast.
72 weird shots and the 3 good ones. I'm
And
like,
you're like, I'm sick.
That was me.
I'm
Yeah,
back.
Yeah.
I'm back, baby.
I'm
When's the
back.
club
Yeah,
championship?
yeah.
Let's
And the next
freaking
hole,
go.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not playing. I'm not playing for a couple weeks. Yeah.
You guys want to play pickleball?
All
All right, you want to get to the E9?
Let's get
'Cause I
to
feel like
the
we got
E9.
some stories coming in.
Yes,
this
we do.
segment.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
we've recently changed this first question. This is one that goes to everybody. If you could be anyone else for a day, dead or alive, who would it be?
Present company excluded.
Yeah, you can't be me.
Obviously. Yeah.
That's too easy.
Yeah, that's too easy. Man, present company. It's weird. It'd be like some other athlete that is just either really good basketball player. I've never dunked a basketball on a I'd like to do that once. I'd like to be someone
beast in some other
just
sport.
a beast or like the best tennis player in the world. I'd say Roger Federer like 8 years ago. That would be I'd love tennis and I would love to be I'm terrible at it, but I would love to be that and be able to be able to do that and have that skill. Which tells you how juvenile my mind is. It just goes to another sport instead of somebody that's like changing the world in any other way. But
That's fine.
but yeah,
Drew wanted to
that's
be
what
you.
but that's what this.
Bryce.
Yeah,
I'd love to
exactly.
be Bryce and just
Of
make
course.
fucking everything. That'd be so fun.
For par.
One time,
For par,
I'd make
yeah.
every 8-footer.
It's
for
okay.
par.
Yeah. I always say it when I get up like on the first hole and they're like, "Oh, hey, great putt." It's like 7-foot slider for par, and I'm like, dude,
It's fine.
I couldn't be more comfortable.
Yeah.
Like
You're welcome to the mud. I
yeah,
live
what
in
are you
the
talking
mud, boys.
about? That's how
You
this
and-
hole's played.
You and Dr. Stoltz just love putting for par.
That's right.
The muddier we get, the more
Yeah.
you're screwed. All right, that's a good answer, Roger Federer. What's your tennis? Are you a ping pong guy?
A little bit.
All right,
A
so you
little
know Cooch. He's super
I beat him
nice.
once.
You beat him once?
I beat him before he got really good.
Oh, okay.
And then he went and started playing like leagues in Atlanta, and it got,
I heard
which is just weird.
he's the American that gets brought up every time.
Yeah.
That's
No,
all I
he's legit. I beat him at his house, on his table, and then he whacked me the next time. I said, "Okay, 1-1, we're good."
And we tied.
I said,
we're
we're
the
good.
same player. We're the
Yeah,
same guy.
yeah.
We're exactly equal. All right, next question. Do you feel guilty about questioning the honesty of our former commander-in-chief, Bill Clinton, after you shot 60 with him in college?
That's so great. Do I feel guilty about
You
questioning?
slandered
By the way, you shot 60 with the president.
the most honest president
It was
of all
even
time.
I cheated. Like I hit 2 balls off the first tee because when he tells you to hit another ball, like what do you do?
No, sir, I'm good.
Nah, Prez, I'm straight.
Right? I'm sure he gave me like some 5-footers. So yeah, so this was 99, playing at Chenal Country Club, which was my home course at the time, which is where he played when he was president. Came back to Little Rock, and my teacher was the director of golf. So I pull up and there's all these SPVs, and you can kind of tell when he was there. So my teacher goes, "Hey, do you want to play with the president today?" So of course, yes. And it was really cool round. He was awesome to play with. I did hit 2 balls off the first tee because, of course, I get nervous. The ball goes in the right trees. Second one, pipe, white tees. So when you say, oh, you shot 60, I'm like, all right, well, I hit 2 balls off the first tee, probably gave some 3 and 4 footers, playing the white tees. Like in my mind, I'm like, well, that doesn't really count. But yeah, so we played, and me being just naive, I was interviewed by a reporter the next week at the U.S. Amateur, and there was, it was like a 5-minute interview, and the one thing that they took was, and it was posted in Newsweek. They always did these little blips on the very back of Newsweek quotes, and the quote was, "The president shot 90, but I think the scorecard said 84." Like,
That's nice.
Which is so great.
Yeah,
I mean, which nowadays that would be like a national news story.
Social media, you'd be exploding.
Right?
They'd be asking about it everywhere. Did you ever hear from Mr. Clinton?
I never heard from him for that comment, but 12, 13, 14 years later, I saw him at the Clinton Foundation, at the Bob Hope or whatever. There's so many words in that, whatever. But Clinton Foundation was a sponsor, and he had a reception, and I remember going to it, and so there's like maybe 10 players, then a bunch of people from the tour were there, and I wanted to get on the list to see if he remembered playing or whatever. So of course, like President Clinton would do, he comes in the service entrance, and he just plops right down to a table full of players' wives. Okay, of course, right? Why not, right? Just perfect. So he, and he just, hey, how you doing? And so
That's pretty good.
my wife introduced herself. Hi, I'm Kelly Molder, and he just starts in. I played with your husband, and he starts like recite. Now he remembered me shooting 59, which was amazing because he like got everybody's attention in the room and like pointed me out and starts going through the round. And he shot 59, and of course I didn't stop him, right?
No,
So
it was actually 58, yeah.
right? Yeah, no, yeah, well, yeah. It was probably a little better. So which plays to like everybody says about his memory, and of course everybody in the room, like if anybody was voting that day, everybody in the room would have voted for him, right? He was so good at that. So he didn't remember me calling him out for cheating.
If he says he shot 84, he shot
84.
I've never known Bill Clinton
Yeah.
tell a fib.
Yeah,
Ever. Honest Bill.
All right, next question. What is the better fashion statement in your opinion? The white belt you wore pretty much every round you played on the PGA Tour, or the Dragon Zip sweatshirt you wore back in the day?
That's so good.
What is a Dragon Zip sweatshirt?
So first of all, I wore a white belt pretty much 90% of the time for like 5 years. And I like strategically, I'm like, yeah, Matt Cooch would always make fun. Matt Wybring would make fun of me. Like all my buddies would be like, oh yeah, white belt, really? How old are you? And I'm like, dude, it's so easy. White shoes, white belt, like it just goes. Just worry about yourself. And then I realized one day I like saw a picture of myself. I'm like, dude, you're like too old and unathletic. Like it's over. It's
That's when you start to hate yourself for real.
It is, right? You're just like,
God.
Oh man, I missed the mark.
not
And I've
what
been
I-
missing it like every other day for a long time. And then so this is great. Yeah,
Okay.
from some friends. So
we do our research around here.
Yeah, dude. We'll find it.
so it was from Express.
Hot
The
store.
clothing
Hot
is
store.
hot,
A lot of
Hey,
cool dudes
hey,
at Express.
They when they make clothing, they think of me, right? Like they're thinking edgy,
like
athletic, young.
yeah, like a hip Eddie Bauer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. and everything they have is this big dragon. Well, I had this jacket that I happened to wear at the wrong time, thinking that it was going to look okay. And as I'm walking out, it's one of those, and it's got this big dragon down like the sleeve. It's so great. It's and so and it's one of those things, when you like walk out. Same thing with that red hat where you just lit me up.
Oh, yeah, when you wanted all
like
the attention.
you just know when you walk, like when you're wearing something, you're like, I kind of feel like this is a miss, but like, who cares? I'm going to meet my buddies at Steak 44, like whatever, And I show up and they're like, what is that dragon? Like, who are you? And I've got like a white T-shirt, like V-neck, and I'm like, you're right. Like I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm just gonna go with it. So, and then they stole it.
Yeah, I heard your buddy stole it, and then y'all went on a guy's trip, and he brought it out and wore it.
They wore it like in Vegas. They traded wearing it.
I got a picture of Matt Wybring wearing it.
I can't believe you had
it's
a
so good.
dragon.
That's so good.
That is opposite of you.
What's
You
funny
are
is
under
I
the
found
radar guy.
another jacket. It was like black on black, but it has it has a dragon on it too. Yeah, it's so great.
Beautiful.
It's like this lion. But I mean, I'm just kind of edgy, you know.
You
get it.
Dude. You're always
so
pushing the
edgy.
envelope,
Yeah,
dude.
so
You should reach
edgy.
for your water.
That's right. Well,
too much.
yeah.
You got tequila.
You're making me nervous with
if
all
you
these
want it.
hundreds of listeners.
Oh,
Maybe.
maybe dozens. We like to refer to it as dozens. All right. Did you ask that?
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Are you the only PGA Tour winner in history whose win has been overshadowed by a hot dog? Gotten more pub. A hot dog's got more pub.
So no kidding. Fries.com open, and my one literally shining moment. Tiger was in the field. I didn't get in the Masters with the win, but Tiger was in the field. He was teeing off the back nine on Sunday, which you and I can relate to that, right?
Love that.
What a bum.
You can't, but yeah. And so he didn't play very well, but weirdly, his third to last hole, somebody ran on the green and threw a hot dog at him. Like, if you Google
remember this.
Tiger Woods hot
It's
dog,
real.
there's a video. It's fantastic. Well, it was nothing. Like, I forget why it happened or why the guy did it. Like, there was never really like a security threat, but that's what ended up like in the USA Today. I remember looking at it and going, "This is so great." It was like Tiger gets hot dog thrown at him, blah 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 blah. Molder wins.
Some other guy wins.
Like it was. He has like 3 paragraphs, and I had like this little snippet about like a 6-hole playoff, first win, blah blah, and that's it. And I'm like, that is so great. Like it was so perfect. But yeah, somebody threw a hot dog at him, and he probably had it staged, right? He just needed attention.
He needed the light.
Can't let Bryce
I can't let
have
Bryce steal all the
Yeah.
shine. You would have
Again.
killed with this new PIP program, dude, and all the fun.
Right,
You didn't
all the fun.
Grow the game. You're
Yeah.
growing it, dude.
All right, next question. Who did you get shot down harder by? Your girls at your high school or Coach Holder when you were trying to go to Oklahoma State?
Oh my gosh. I didn't get shot down by Coach Holder, but he did ask me to grip his finger.
That's
Dude, I'm not kidding. How weird is that? Okay, so a little bit of backstory here.
Elaborate.
First of all, I was shot down by just about any girl at any time. Like,
Not the
yeah, we
Onion.
get it.
not the
Not
onion.
the
Loved your action, bro.
Well, South Georgia girl.
She's
So
only human.
so I was born with a quite a bit smaller left hand than right hand, and when I was being recruited, Coach Holder had won so many championships, and he was just like the guy, right? And so I think he just kind of had this alpha, kind of like he's gonna, you're lucky to come here, right?
Scary.
And literally, I'm hitting balls in the back of the range as like a 16-year-old, and I'm like a rule follower, and so all I know is he's not allowed to talk to me. He starts talking to me at the time, and he goes, "Hey, come here, let me see your hand." So I, show him my hand. He goes, "How's your grip pressure?" And you're a 16-year-old, and you do kind of feel just lucky to be like recruited by somebody.
He's terrifying.
Yeah,
Yes. Scary.
And then he asked me, grip my finger. And his response was, "That's pretty good. How does it work?" And I remember I was so proud. I was so proud of just actually having something to respond. And I was like, "I don't know. What do you think? I'm doing pretty well, huh?" Like, and he was like, "Yeah, okay." But I just remember from then on, I'm like, that was the weirdest. I feel like that was violating. I don't know what happened. I could probably, in today's world, file like a complaint. Maybe I could. Can I still? There's probably some kind of like statute, right?
16-year-old kid, hey, grip my finger. That's a problem. Dude,
Like,
there's
that
a lot of
happened.
shit that's a problem. That's definitely
It
a
happened,
problem.
And then he was like,
my
"Why didn't you come here?" And I never.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of strange.
Could've
Like,
been the
I don't know.
Well, I got a little bad
been
information,
the
but the
finger.
story's great. Your boy
Yeah.
Strick told me that, whatever, it doesn't matter. Great story.
Grip my finger.
There you go.
Stranger danger.
Alert!
Alert. Oh, God. Okay, you made the right decision. All right,
Yeah.
you were a model collegiate athlete. Like you just said, you're a rule follower, right? But you do love a good prank. Give me the best prank you ever played in college.
We went back and forth. Like, Cooch liked to play pranks on, a roommate that was on my side, and then we would try to go back. But like, the best was like, you guys know, playing like mini tours or Corn Ferry, and you're with your buddies and you're traveling together, and it's just a lot of time. So the best was like then, and Matt Wyring was just like my boy. Like we traveled a lot together, and so the the one that sticks out. Like I would pick on him because he was wound so tight around a golf course, and everybody like around a tournament, everybody was like, nah, he's no fun. And I'm like, no, just like you need to spend like away from a golf tournament. He's awesome. He's the best. And so I would pick on him like little things. I'd see his car, and I would park like an inch from his driver's side door, and then just like sit somewhere until I could see him have to climb in through the passenger seat, just because I don't know. I thought
it was fun.
And you saw him like throwing his hand, like kind of looking at it, like throwing his hands up in the air, and he's frustrated. And I'm like, okay, that was the point. Like that's it. So, and then I went, and every time I got a chance, I'd like start going through his bag and like signing his golf balls. Which right. You start, and then I open the big sleeve down the side, and he's got these perfect like 6 gloves, like packed just so perfectly tight, and I'm like, well, those are the same gloves I wear. So I start switching them out with my gloves, which are too small for a 9-year-old, right? So I start putting some of those down there, and it was great because I heard like the next week at like a pro-am, he was kind of late to the first tee, and he's trying to put one on, and he's and he's MFing me, and he's which is great. And so I tell my caddy, I'm like, okay, Sean, this guy's caddying for me. I'm like, he won't even. Obviously I haven't gone far enough. We need to take this further before he, actually retaliates. So I wish I could take credit for this, or maybe I don't. So my caddy goes, get his umbrella. We're at Colonial. It's not raining. Go get his umbrella. I'm like, what are you going to do with it? He goes, just get his umbrella. So I get the umbrella, perfect, tied to the sleeve, and it's just perfect, right, out of his locker. And I hand it to him. I'm like, what are you doing with it? He goes, well, I haven't seen it done, but I've heard of somebody that did this. Just give me some time. So I'm texting him that night. And apparently his next stop was to go to an adult bookstore or whatever, right? Get some magazines. He tapes some pictures, cuts out some pictures to the underside, and then wraps it nicely, sticks it back in the sleeve, which is not easy because now it's like got stuff, and gives it back to me the next morning. I put it back in the locker. It's kind of one of those where you kind of like set a little bomb out there and see if it blows up. Like you just don't know. And then the whole time I'm like, this is gonna happen at a bad time. It's gonna like cost him a shot or something. But I don't know. It felt like it was worth it. So we go like a month, and there's like no rain on tour, which is weird in that time of period. So then we get to Hartford, and it's late on Friday afternoon or no, Thursday afternoon. I played in the morning, and I see it's about to rain, and I'm texting Sean. I'm like, hey, are you watching this? He goes, yeah. And he goes, does he still have the umbrella? I'm like, I have no idea. So I got some texts about an hour later from his agent who was right there. And it's just one of those, it wasn't like a sprinkle and then turned into like a rain and then a downpour. Like it turned into a downpour right away. And he's like, I guess you just picture somebody, a pro, like trying not to get all of his stuff wet. And he's trying to get the sleeve off first, which you can't because it's just jammed on there. And then he can't open it. So he's just, and then he finally opens it to all this stuff, pictures, graphic.
Oh my God.
And the best part was he knew me. He just starts cussing me, and this was coming from his agent. He just starts cussing, me like to no end.
Fantastic.
And so I don't know what you do from there. You start taking it down. And I was watching how he was playing, and he parred the last like 3 holes, which made me feel better. But it finally got his attention because and I was like, I'm a little scared. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, and I come back, and he'd put condoms on my putter, my hybrid back, and then he put, which was actually kind of genius because the residue, like you can't get that off
On the grips, that's a problem.
It wasn't on the grips, but it ends up on your grips once you touch it, and then it like
gets a little squirty.
And once it gets in the head cover, it's just there. I remember I had to like ditch that putter. It was like it like varnished the Scotty Cameron whatever. So I was like, dude, that's good. And then I realized on the first green, because that's the first time that you lay your bag down, was that he found, and I think it was his kids, little stickers with letters, and he spelled out some let's just say he spelled out some graphic things that we'll not speak of,
Okay.
which were funny because but you think about it, it's the first time you lay the bag down. I was
the
like,
bottom?
Yeah, on the bottom, right? You lay it down, all of a sudden I'm like,
Well done.
Yep.
I'm like, that's good. That's good. I appreciate it. So
That's an aggressive prank.
Yeah, it
dude.
is.
The old porn in the umbrella routine.
That's
I know
really
well.
good. I like that. I heard you also. This one leads into my next one because I believe you did one to Matt Kuchar at an awards banquet.
Jesus, Bryce, you heathen!
How mean are you?
You're this. We've
all in good
marketed you
fun,
as the
guys.
nicest guy in the world.
So Matt actually had a whole article, like a 6-page spread in Sports Illustrated about him being this fun-loving prankster, whatever. And so you can imagine being, and at the time, like Sports Illustrated magazine was massive, right? Everybody in the Athletic Association had read it, and they're all, Matt's just a superstar. Didn't matter, who was in the lunchroom. It was like Matt was the superstar, and he was the prankster. So Matt's senior year, I think, it was my junior year, we're at an awards banquet, and the table next to us is some baseball guys, and Matt thinks of the idea of putting the name tags. Everybody's wearing a coat and tie. We all look like idiots, right? None of us look good in them because, but, we got a name tag, and they start putting name tags on some of the baseball players' back. Well, it was Matt's idea, and it was just, whatever. So we start doing it to Matt because he's the closest one of the speakers, so he's kind of turned around. Well, we all start kind of doing it to him. And then I'm like nudging my buddy sitting next to me. I'm like, hey, I'm getting an award, and they told me I was going to speak. Like, what are the chances I can get Matt to stand up? And he's like, oh, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I thought it was going to be difficult, and it was really easy. I mean, it's so easy. So it's like, I don't know how many people were there, but it's every athlete plus every coach plus everybody in the Athletic Association, whatever. And I start into a story and literally mention his name for a quarter of a second. And he was like, yeah, we went to a baseball game at Fenway for around regionals. And I'm like, hey, and Matt Kuchar gets us tickets, and you all know Matt before I could say stand up, like he shoots out of the chair, hand couldn't be higher, big smile, he's going around in every direction, name tags all over him, and and everybody's laughing, and so I finished. It was one of those where I was like building up that moment, and I just stumbled through the last couple minutes, and I sit down, and you see him 3 or 4 minutes later start to he's kind of people are still laughing around us. It's kind of one of those moments where you're like, I kind of feel like I'm the butt of the joke, right? And he kind of starts reaching behind his back, and he starts peeling them off one by one. And he's seeing all of our names, right?
Poor Matt.
There's another, poor Matt,
Yeah,
right?
poor Matt.
You got
Poor
it.
Matt, right? And it was one of those things because he never said a word, but it was I don't think he had ever respected me that much than at that moment. It didn't matter, all the golf stuff, whatever. But it was like that. He's like, he kind of got me. But I was scared. After that, I was like, he's going to get me in a major way. And
That's how this little bastard should feel right now after this shoe prank.
I'm not scared of you.
Okay.
I'm not scared
I'm
of
coming,
you.
dude, when you least expect it.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's good. I love that. That's it. I had to mention his set name for half a second. He just shot up.
Yeah. I mean, he shot up like a cannon.
Hey
it was
guys,
awesome.
Matt Kuchar. How
Yeah.
you doing? Sports
So
Illustrated.
great.
All right, my last one. Has there ever been a more disrespectful first tee intro for a defending champion from the 2012 Fries.com Open? This is awesome. This is a microcosm.
I mean, this built up for a number of years where I would get called Bruce Molder on the first tee. And it was funny enough to enough people that everybody started calling me Bruce, which was great. It was, just fine. And it was even to the point where I'm playing with Chappie, and he doesn't think that it's real, but he calls me Bruce anyway because he thinks it's funny. He's like, yeah, people call you Bruce on the first tee. Well, he's paired me with me in the 2012 Fries.com Open, which I was defending champion, and this poor older lady was announcing, and she announces me as the 2011 Fries.com or whatever, the defending champion, Bruce Molder. And I mean, Chappie just about fell to his knees. I'm bending over,
It's
just
my
dying.
moment.
Right. Yeah. And it's hysterical. I can't look at my caddy. He's about to start laughing. Somebody corrects her, and she tries to say it again, and she kind of messes it up even more. And I'm like, no, Bruce is good. That's what my friends call me. And I hit this low snipe Like just,
God.
I was so happy just to get it airborne, and that wasn't it. Like I got it at the Phoenix Open, I got it at my last Players Championship. You know, it was great. So I'm still to this day called
When you're the
called
defending
Bruce.
champ and your face is plastered all over everything, all the marketing materials. It says Bryce. You would think maybe they could slide your name in
possibly, but it's great.
So perfect.
Sorry, that's what my friends call me.
I love that.
You're fine.
All right, we've talked a lot. You're an Arkansas boy. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I mention the Electric Cowboy?
Oh, good times. 50-cent drink nights. Oh, I mean, so the Electric Cowboy. Come back from college. That was like the Friday night, Saturday night. It was somehow like they played rap, country. You saw all walks of life, but it was like the spot, the late spot that you go to, and it was.
Were you the man around the Electric Cowboy?
I was never the man anywhere that I went.
He wore the dragon.
Anywhere that I went,
the dragon when he
if
walked in.
if I had the dragon there, it would have been like it would have been
Slave.
crazy. Just So that was where he went. And I think it was like Friday night or something. It was like 50-cent well drinks or something. It was just stupid, right? Why wouldn't you go? I remember taking a couple people there, which was a mistake. Like friends from out of town that just didn't quite get it. And you take them, and it's one of those when you walk in and then you're seeing it through their eyes, and you're like, yeah, this is kind of weird. Like this guy's quite
sketchy place.
Like you're right. Like it's great, I promise. And by like an hour later, they're like, this place is amazing. But you walk in and you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's not ideal. Like it's not perfect, but yeah,
50 cents. Well,
you get past it, right?
Yeah, you bring $10, you get blasted. Oh God,
they'd sell the beer like in those little plastic cups where you just get like you just couldn't drink it. It was great.
I love it.
Yeah.
God, what a beauty you are.
Has been incredible,
awesome.
Bryce. Thank you so much, my man.
Yeah,
hey,
thanks, guys. Yeah,
keep that positive mentality, dude.
You're
You're going.
Hey, I'm gonna keep it going.
We're gonna need you for a loan soon. Thanks, man.
Thanks, dude. All right, well, that was our man Bryce Molder joining us. What a guy! First off, I mean, you were kind of a fanboy around him as you were younger.
Oh, as a kid, yeah, man. When I first started playing golf, I think I was going into, 7th grade or something along those, 6th or 7th grade. Bryce was a freshman at Georgia Tech, and he just won like freshman of the year and all this stuff. That was right when I was getting into golf. And my parents were like, oh, you know, Bryce is doing really good in college. You should talk to Bryce or whatever. So I oh yeah, that's what I should do. I'm just starting. Wrote him a letter, writes me back, sends me an autographed Georgia Tech hat, some golf balls, which I kept for a long time. And then I actually brought it out one round when I played with Bryce. I was like, here, dude, I thought this might actually be worth some shit when you grew up, but it's not. You can have it back.
I loved it. I can tell you what, every time I got paired with him on tour, I always played well. I mean, I shot the course record at the Players. I played well with him at Bay Hill. I think it's just because he was one of the few guys that I could actually keep it within shouting distance of off the tee.
Yeah.
So we got to actually hang out and talk a little bit. But just such a comfortable pairing, always joking around. I mean, it's serious but in between shots, it's typical Bryce Molder, just joking around, hating on himself more than anything else, which is one thing that I love about him.
I respect a man who can do that. And also the best putter that I've ever played with. Just he's one of those guys that makes everything, but when he doesn't make it, I don't care if it's 25, 30 feet, they all look like they're going. Every time Bryce putts, you just expect it to go in. That was kind of his superpower because, like you mentioned, not the longest dude off the tee in the world, but God, dude, he was really, really, really good, and I think he just kind of fell out of love with it. You know, he came out, had early success, third in his first tour start ever, probably thinks like, oh, this is going to be just like college. I'm going to keep beating everyone's head in. And doesn't happen, and he said like winning's fun, and not winning and trying to make cuts and trying to make cuts and grind out a tour card is not as much fun. He just didn't love it like a lot of people love it, and he stepped away, and I think he's as happy as he's ever been right now. Plays golf occasionally, jokes around, drinks, slaps it. It's fun to see him play some bad golf now because he rarely ever saw it for a long time, but he's happy, dude. But it's a pretty, interesting story from a guy like that.
Yeah, but had a blast sitting down with him. I mean, he's definitely he's a much happier man now that he stepped away from the game, but still he had an awesome career on the PGA Tour and obviously college golf and everything, but wish him the best. All right, well, let's get to the gambling this week. You made a huge move.
Yes, let's do it.
Which is what you needed.
Finally.
Yep, you took the favorite, John Rahm, picked up $2.25 million. My man Will Zalatoris couldn't have let me down any worse. It was really, really bad. But now that I'm losing, are we going to change the rules like we did last year?
You're
with
on a bit of a skid.
Yeah, I'm on
a little MC skid.
So,
you want to change them?
At what point do we get to change the rules?
Well, you can propose it, and then if I agree to it, that's the way it works.
Well, okay. Anyways, let's go to the updated standings. I know you got a lead now.
Yeah, that $2.25 million did some wonders for you. from being down over $1 million to now up $1,071,338.
It's a very nice week. It's good to pick a winner at a major.
Little Mongolian flip. Yeah, it is nice. It is. Those ones are helpful.
All right. Well, this week we got the Travelers Championship, and it is a loaded field. One of my favorite events on the PGA Tour. Crowds come out. One particular gentleman I'm not a big fan of up there.
We got to talk about that. Let's talk about that before we go to the gambling. There is a fan up there in the Northeast that, for some reason, does not like Colt Knost.
I have done some bad shit
to this man. I don't know what you
did.
I
have no idea.
It was year after year, this guy would come down and make it a point to only you, not the rest of your group, or not everyone that walked through. He's not one of those guys that just bags on everyone. It was just you, single you out. Most of the time it was 18 fairway, correct?
No, that's the only place it was.
It was only the 18 fairway.
Two
and
years
just destroy you.
2 years in a row, I was in like the next to last group on Sunday, and I played like shit. And I'm coming up 18. You just want it to end, and then here's this guy just wearing my ass out the entire way up the fairway, and I'm like, what? Who are you? Like. But it's so crowded over on the hill, you really can't see who it is. And I'm like, what have I done to you? Just wearing me out. And then the second year, once again, here we go again. I'm shooting like 74 on Sunday, and he goes, "Don't think I forgot about you."
I'm back, bitch.
And I'm playing with Tommy Gainey, and Tommy wanted to go find this guy and fight him.
Let him.
And I'm like, let's just get out of here. So if I'm walking up 18 fairway commentating this week at Hartford and he starts wearing me out, I'm going to know I truly did something very bad to this man, and I might have to just go address it.
Did you ever locate him in this when you're looking? Did you ever even acknowledge him, or did you just pretend to not hear it even though you were hearing every word?
My caddy at the time, HD, he was like, just put your head down, keep walking, let's go.
So you don't have a physical description of this man?
I have no idea.
If you're in the Northeast, for any of our Northeast listeners, if you know this man, if someone's like, I hate Colt or whatever, I used to bang on Colt all the way around Hartford. Find him and put us in touch with him somehow, because I really need to meet this guy. I want to talk to him. I want to know what you did to warrant all this, because he said some mean shit to you, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Basically told me I'm fat, worthless. I belong on the now Corn Ferry Tour. Now he's going to tell me you can't even play out there. That's why you're on TV. But I can't wait to see who this guy is.
He's an angry, angry man. So if you're up there and you happen to know who this guy is, let us know, because we need him and Cole to face-to-face get to the bottom of this thing.
I love it. But this is a fantastic week. Travelers does an unbelievable job. Always one of the favorites for the players, and that's why they get such a loaded field.
Even Bryce right after U.S. Open, all the way on the opposite coast. Yeah, there's a huge names up there. I just wonder who's motivated, who's not after a week like that. But it is a monster field.
All right.
A lot of guys to pick from.
Well, let's get to it. Who you got?
I'll go with a monster name, and his name is Kevin Streelman. It's about as big as it gets. Our boy Streels. All right, he's playing great golf. I was in this situation just recently. Charlie Hoffman was playing some pretty damn good golf, and I noticed it after a while, and I was like, I might as well try to ride the wave a little bit. And then I rode it, and then the wave shot 80 on a Saturday. So it didn't work out as much. Streels, 4 consecutive top 20s now. 8th at the PGA, and now 15th, I believe, yesterday at Torrey Pines. I mean, he's playing his best golf that he's ever played, and I just like the way his mindset is. I was talking to him a little bit out at U.S. Open and at Colonial, and he just seems like pretty chill. Like, it's just all going well right now, and he's not overworking, and I'm going to try to ride it. And he's won at this place before in pretty dramatic fashion.
Yeah, he's birdied the last 7 to win back in 2014. No big
deal.
No bigs. All right, I'm going to go with the guy who also loves this place and just seems to play great every time he tees it up. Finished, I believe, 5th at the U.S. Open.
He was right there. Yeah.
7th. God. He's done everything around the Travelers but win. He claims that this is his ATM.
Yeah.
Just prints money around here. So I've been cold as shit. I'm going to see if I can, reverse this and go with my man Paul Casey this week at the Travelers. I hope he gets it done.
God, I was surprised to see him this week at the U.S. when he made some birdies there late in the front 9. I was like, he's going to be right there for this. And then it just, as quickly as it happened, he wasn't the only one that got bit like that. But he just seems to be hanging around the hoop in those majors, and just it's hard to break through, man.
It is, but it's going to be a great week at the Travelers. And next week, another incredible episode. One of my favorites growing up as a young kid. I know you're a huge hoops guy. We got the Hall of Famer, Jason Kidd, in the house.
J Kidd, just no-look diamond, talking about growing up in Oakland. I mean, all the different teams he played on. I think I don't know if I even brought this up to him, but I think he's responsible for creating more millionaires in the world than maybe Bezos or Bill Gates, because he took more players who were having medium careers in the NBA. They got on a team with Jason Kidd, and 2 years later they had a max deal. He makes everyone better. He got a lot of people paid more than just him.
Maybe he'll make this podcast even better.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
We'll take handouts
us to the top.
Throw us some oops and just let me dunk it over. Shit's easy.
All right. We'll talk to you on next week's Golf Subpar.